Let's get back to the economy now. I want to catch up with Gigi Foster, who's the New South Wales New South Wales University economics professor, joining us live from Sydney. Good to talk to you again, Gigi. I wanted to get your thoughts on the back of this interest rate cut. We heard from Michelle Bullock yesterday saying they were in two minds as whether to hold or cut again, and they've gone for another slight cut. But she actually said, she's actually mouthed the words that they're still worried about recession. What's at play here? Is it global factors, domestic factors, or a combination of both?
I mean, I do think it's a combination of both. Remember, markets respond to information. So even if there's no real effect of, for example, the Trump tariffs, let's say, just to take one thing that's happening internationally, people who believe that there might be an effect are going to propagate that belief through markets. And so that's going to create uncertainty. It's going to create more hesitancy. It basically self-perpetuates, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It will make people act more bearish rather than bullish. And so that is definitely probably on her mind, I would say. Whether or not there's going to be a real effect of those tariffs, that's really substantial economically. If people didn't have that fear factor or that kind of spook factor, I'm not sure. I do think domestically, of course, we know we've had this productivity slump for years now, and we've got a bloated public service, which is dragging us down. And of course, as you just were talking about with a previous guest, we aren't really managing our energy very well, and energy is an input into almost every aspect of the modern lifestyle. So I think there are a lot of things we could do a lot better on the domestic front. And of course, shoring up our own capacity as Australians to make things and do things for ourselves, having food security and whatnot is important. But I would say also equally important is diversifying our trading base overseas, particularly in light of what's happening in the US.
Yeah, spot on. Here's a little bit of what Michelle Bullock said yesterday.
If you look at our scenario analysis, it does suggest that in a really bad outcome, there could possibly be a recession, yes. But that's in the very extreme circumstance.
Yeah, so that's not to overstate it. Now, you and I share these concerns when you talk about what needs to be fixed in this economy. And you're talking in the pre-election context, people say, oh, you're playing politics or whatever. Well, I'm not. What I care about is the future of our country, right? I'm worried about it. I'm worried about the level of government spending, and I'm worried about how we've turned energy from an advantage into a disadvantage. And I'm worried about the lack of productivity. The ALP National Secretary today said at the National Press Club that the focus groups don't talk to him about productivity. Well, yeah, that's a glib line, but the whole economy depends on productivity. And I'm worried that a government's got such a big margin here now and an ineffective opposition. They're just going to continue down this road of spending and not actually reforming anything.
No, I think that's right, Chris. That's what the political incentives will dictate for them. And there's no reason to think that the Australian people are going to demand anything different. Where are the mechanisms to bring that up? I mean, I'm co-organizing the Australian Conference of Economists in July, and we will be trying to talk about a lot of these things. We have some sessions on productivity, but even academic economists, generally speaking, as you know, are a bit divorced from the problems of the country that pays their salaries, maybe present company accepted, but generally speaking, it's not that popular to be doing research into productivity. It's kind of not sexy. It's kind of boring. But as you say, it underpins so much. And so I think we need to have an elevation of economic literacy and reality facing in this country before we're going to get any serious attempts to fix the structural issues that we've got. And those issues they run right through multiple sectors, and they have a lot to do with the way that the government manages and also just sees its role. I think it's not that the government should fix our problems. We need to have markets as the primary source of growth and productivity and health. And
as Ronald Reagan's famously said, government's not the solution, government's the problem. We'll come back to you and discuss some of those issues in detail. Gigi, thanks for joining us.